There's always been a debate about the difference between craft and fine art. And some people think one is better than the other, but they are both equally respectful as an art form. Mosaics first entered my life when I was 8 and I was in the hospital. And someone brought me, it wasn't anything really serious. I had swollen glands or something of that sort, and I was being monitored. And so they brought me a kit that was a mosaic kit, and it was an ashtray kit. And it was some mosaic tiles that came on a mesh, and then an aluminum frame for the ashtray, and you just glued the tiles in and then you grouted it. But there was something about grouting that I really loved. So I had told myself I was going to come back to mosaic sometime in my life. This is an experiment, this is an experiment, this is an experiment. Even this one, although it looks very finished, is an experiment. And in each one of these, I learned something. When I was about 16, I started to get in touch with some of the Chinese philosophies. So I learned about the I Ching, I started studying Tai Chi, I started doing meditation. And it wasn't necessarily that I chose that to do, it was more like I had mentors. In the summer times, my mother had us all work. I had this one job that the person who was my supervisor, her and her husband were African Americans who were in professional positions that notably required an education. My mother allowed me to hang out with them because of that. They were the ones that were doing the Tai Chi and the meditation, and I was just following along with what they were doing. It didn't become my own until I became an adult. So I started studying Tai Chi ongoing, regularly, started meditating regularly. In my early 20s, I realized that the I Ching, the Tao Te Ching, and Tai Chi and meditation were connected. In that awareness, it had more of a comprehensive understanding of what it was I was doing. Don't add problems to it. And just like the room has an effect on us, they can. It depends on you. Sometimes I'm being dynamic with it and just using it and then saying, okay, what is me handling this? What is that? What does that mean? How does that feel to me? I had not traveled outside of the United States, and one of my friends rented a villa in Spain and asked me if I wanted to visit. It frightened me because I had never been out of the country, but also excited me. So I said yes. I then took the train from Valencia to Granada. And Granada has the Alhambra there. And the Alhambra has mosaics in it. It's mostly Moorish mosaics. And then across the ravine from there was the Albayzín, which is the village. And it's one of the oldest villages in Spain. And the ground was pebble mosaics. So I started to think about mosaics again. And the tile mosaics had the grout in between the tiles, and then there was that pebble mosaics. And that ground of pebble mosaics had been there for hundreds of years. That was totally intriguing to me. So when I came back to Ann Arbor, I was walking down 4th, and on the corner, there was a mosaic school there. Julia Hanensen was teaching mosaics there, and I looked in the window and I said, that's interesting. And she mostly used stained glass. So my first mosaic piece was that Peaceful Dragon piece. I started to think about that pebble mosaic. I said, I want to know more about that. How did you do something like that that can last hundreds of years? So I started to do an internet search, and I came across a number of different pebble mosaics, but then there was this one that was very striking to me, and I said, who did that? And I found out that it was Maggie Howarth. Maggie Howarth is from the UK, and she was teaching a pebble mosaic class at the Chicago Mosaic School. So I said, I'm going to sign up for that. And so I took 2 of her classes back to back that first visit. And that's when it opened up a whole nother world of mosaics for me. One of the things that I was taught was that true mosaics is supposed to really stand the test of time. I have not done any of the traditional crafty style of what most people look at and say is mosaic. You know?
Yes.
Oh, you mean like what they have in the bathroom? You know, and like, no, that's not what I mean. I mean contemporary art. I think differently. Of course I do. As an individual, we all think differently. But culturally, you know, we all also have a framework. And sometimes I feel like I'm misunderstood when I might have a little more fire behind my questions, you know, and then therefore then I get judged, and I find that to be very difficult sometimes, but I show up anyway. And most of the teachers that I've taken a class with were marvelous, open spirit, but the interaction sometimes with other students damaged the relationship that, you know, started to compound with other little things, like me not knowing the protocols all the time, you know, and no one really being able to share the protocols with me, but being judged because I didn't understand, you know. And so those kinds of things were systemically problematic and hurtful to my soul, you know, or my spirit. But I still showed up because there was so much to learn. Right now, I have difficulty showing up because I am sole care provider for my mother. Since I say that I finished the coursework for the certificate program, I think they think that I think I don't have any more to learn. And that is so not true. It's just that it's all kind of right now, I got to take care of my mother, and I don't have the income or the time to go and take classes, you know. So, you know, at some point I'll show up again. I submitted a class to the Society of American Mosaic Artists conference, and it got accepted. So that'll be a first acknowledgement by a national group. So I think my work has developed enough where they feel comfortable, you know, and they know that I have experience with teaching. So I feel honored, humbled at the same time too, that and acknowledged in a way too.